Some movies never got their due, overshadowed, underrated, or simply lost to time. But classics? They don't fade. They still hit just as hard today. These are 10 overlooked movie classics that deserve a second look. Films that hold up, stand out, and might just become your new favorites. Let's dive in. The Parallax View, 1974. The conspiracy thriller that feels too real. There is a moment in The Parallax View, a hypnotic, chilling montage of images flashing at the screen, where you begin to feel it. That creeping sense that something is terribly, irreversibly wrong. This is not just a thriller, it is a slow, suffocating descent into paranoia, where every answer only leads to more questions, and every shadow hides something sinister. Warren Beatty plays investigative journalist Joe Frady, a man who stumbles upon a labyrinthine conspiracy so vast, so all-consuming, that exposing it feels almost impossible. His journey through the film is like watching someone struggle in quicksand. The harder he fights, the deeper he sinks. Director Alan J. Pakula builds the tension masterfully, crafting a world where the lines between reality and deception are completely blurred. And then there is that montage sequence, a rapid-fire, almost subliminal assault of images designed to brainwash and manipulate. It is one of the most unsettling moments in any thriller, and decades later it still feels uncomfortably plausible. With its themes of power, control, and manufactured reality, The Parallax View does not feel like a product of the 70s. It feels like a warning, one that has only become more terrifyingly relevant with time. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, 1974, the wildest revenge movie ever. There are revenge movies, and then there's Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. This is revenge dragged through the mud, drenched in sweat and reeking of whiskey, regret, and gunpowder. It is a movie that feels like a fever dream baked under a merciless Mexican sun, where the line between vengeance and self-destruction blurs beyond recognition. Warren Oates delivers a tragic, whiskey-soaked performance as Benny, a washed-up American drifter who sees one last shot at redemption, find Alfredo Garcia's head, and cash in on the bounty. But this is not a clean-cut, righteous journey. No, this is Peckinpah's world, where honor is a joke, violence is inevitable, and survival is nothing more than a slow-motion collapse into the abyss. The film's grimy, surreal intensity is hypnotic, a violent, dust-covered odyssey filled with double-crosses, bullet-riddled motel rooms, and a protagonist who clings to a severed head like it is his last friend on Earth. It is grotesque, it is poetic, and it is utterly uncompromising. This is not revenge. This is a man's soul unraveling one bloody mile at a time. Peckinpah never blinked, and neither should you. Watch this film, and feel every last drop of its madness. A Midnight Clear, 1992, the war movie nobody talks about. War films often go for spectacle. Roaring battles, heroic last stands, chaos unfolding in every frame. But A Midnight Clear is something else entirely. It is a film of silences, of snow-covered uncertainty, of young men clinging to the fragile possibility of peace. Instead of glorifying combat, it lingers on the moments in between, where duty and survival collide with fleeting humanity. Set in the final days of World War II, it follows a small group of American soldiers stationed in an isolated, frozen wilderness. They expect another mission, another fight. But instead, they find themselves face to face with a small German unit that does not want to die. What unfolds is tense, intimate, and deeply unsettling, as both sides hesitate on the brink of an unspoken truce, knowing the world outside will not allow it to last. This is a war film stripped of grandeur. No sweeping battlefields, no rousing speeches, just the quiet weight of inevitability. It is about young men staring into the void, hoping for something better, and watching that hope slip away. A film achingly human and profoundly overlooked, A Midnight Clear leaves an imprint long after the credits fade. Because sometimes, war is not about victory, it is about what is lost along the way. The Friends of Eddie Coyle, 1973. The most realistic crime movie ever. Crime films love to romanticize the underworld, flashy heists, larger-than-life characters, the allure of fast money. The Friends of Eddie Coyle does the opposite. It strips away the glamour, the excitement, and leaves you with something far more unsettling, the suffocating gray reality of a life spent scraping by in the margins. Robert Mitchum plays Eddie Coyle, a low-level gunrunner who is neither brilliant nor ruthless. Just a tired man backed into a corner, trying to survive in a world where survival is almost impossible. There are no masterminds here, no shootouts in the streets, just men who know their time is running out, grasping at whatever scraps they can before the inevitable catches up with them. Director Peter Yates gives the film a cold, lived-in authenticity, from the grimy Boston bars to the weary, unspoken understanding between criminals who know exactly how disposable they are. Conversations carry more weight than bullets, and the real fear does not come from getting caught. It comes from knowing you have nothing left to bargain with. This is crime without the Hollywood shine, a film that does not mythologize criminals but mourns them, showing a world where loyalty is currency and betrayal is survival. And when it is all over, all that is left is silence, and the feeling that Eddie Coyle never really had a chance. Wake in Fright, 1971. The most unnerving movie you've never seen. Some films scare you. Others unsettle you so deeply that they leave you feeling trapped, as if you were the one stuck inside them, sweating under the sun, desperate for a way out. Wake in Fright is that kind of film. It does not shock you with horror. It drains you, pulling you into a sun-scorched, beer-soaked nightmare that starts as a bad weekend and spirals into something much worse. John Grant, a schoolteacher, sets off on what should be a simple journey, a stop in a remote Australian town before heading home. But this place? It is a fever dream of endless drinks, suffocating hospitality, and rituals of masculine brutality that turn his brief stopover into a downward spiral he can't escape. The deeper he falls, the more the lines between civility and savagery begin to blur, until he is no longer sure which side of the line he is standing on. Ted Kotcheff directs with an unforgiving intensity, making the Outback feel like a purgatory where the sun never stops burning, the beer never stops flowing, and the worst version of yourself is always just one bad decision away. Martin Scorsese called it deeply, uncomfortably powerful. And once you have seen it, you will never forget it. Runaway Train, 1985, an action movie with real grit. Some action movies thrill you, others leave you gasping for air. Runaway Train does both, but it also shakes you to your core. Beneath the relentless ice-covered mayhem, this is a story of men who refuse to be caged, of destiny barreling forward at full speed, with no brakes and no mercy. Jon Voight delivers a feral, larger-than-life performance as Manny, a hardened convict who escapes from an Alaskan prison, dragging along the younger, impulsive Buck, Eric Roberts. Their ticket to freedom? A freight train roaring through the frozen wilderness. But fate has other plans. The train is unstoppable, its conductor dead, and the ruthless warden hunting them down like an animal who refuses to stay locked up. What follows is not Hollywood action gloss, but pure, teeth-gritting survival. Every moment feels like a battle, against the ice, the machine, the past, and themselves. Director Andrei Konchalovsky shoots the film with raw, bone-crushing intensity, making every screech of metal and every blast of wind feel like an omen. But at its heart, Runaway Train is more than speed and spectacle. It is a meditation on fate, freedom, and the ghosts that chase us down no matter how fast we run. A brutal, poetic powerhouse of a film, this is one ride you won't forget. The Last Detail. Nicholson at his absolute best. At first glance, The Last Detail seems like a simple road movie, two Navy men escorting a young prisoner across the country. But beneath the rough talk and beer-soaked antics lies something deeper, something painfully human. It is about the kind of freedom you can taste but never truly have, the kind of happiness that flickers just before reality stomps it out. Jack Nicholson is pure, unfiltered rebellion as Billy Badass Badusky, a man who has seen enough of the world to know that life is rigged. and all you can do is grab whatever scraps of joy you can along the way. Alongside Otis Young's equally world-weary Mulhall, he decides to give their prisoner, young, naive Meadows, Randy Quaid, one last wild adventure before they deliver him to a fate he cannot escape. What follows is boisterous, crass, and unexpectedly tender, filled with drunken brawls, stolen moments of joy, and the creeping realization that none of them are as free as they pretend to be. Director Hal Ashby gives the film a loose, lived-in authenticity, letting conversations meander, laughter linger, and regret settle in the quiet spaces between. By the time it is over, the last detail does not feel like a movie. It feels like a memory, one that stays with you long after the journey ends. Blowout, De Palma's forgotten masterpiece. A film where the truth is not just hidden, but actively erased, and every answer leads to something far worse than silence. Brian De Palma crafts a world of shadows and echoes, where every sound matters and every moment hums with an unshakable sense of doom. John Travolta delivers one of his most subtle yet devastating performances as Jack Terry, a sound technician who, by pure chance, records a murder disguised as an accident. His obsession with uncovering the truth drags him into a labyrinth of deception where every step forward feels like a slow-motion fall into oblivion, drenched in neon lights, voyeuristic camera work, and a creeping sense that everything is already lost. And then there is that ending, a gut punch so haunting, so cruelly poetic that it cements Blowout as one of the most tragic, brilliantly executed thrillers ever made. It is not just a mystery. It is a dirge, a conspiracy-soaked descent into madness. And it deserves to stand alongside Hitchcock's best, not as an imitation, but as an evolution of the genre itself. Sorcerer, 1977. White-knuckle tension like you've never seen. Some movies take you on a journey. Sorcerer drags you, kicking and screaming, into a world that feels like it wants you dead. This is not just a thriller. It is an exercise in survival, a film so relentlessly tense that you can feel it in your bones. William Friedkin strips everything down to pure, primal desperation. Four criminals, each running from a past they cannot escape, take a job that feels like a death sentence, transporting unstable nitroglycerin across miles of unforgiving jungle. The mission is suicidal. The stakes? Unbearable. And the sweat-soaked, nerve-wracking atmosphere never lets up. Then comes the bridge scene, a sequence so harrowing, so brutally tense that it might be one of the greatest set pieces ever filmed. A rickety wooden bridge, swaying violently in the storm, barely holding together over a raging river. The truck creeps forward, planks splinter, ropes strain, the rain pounds down like a curse, and every second feels like the last. Overshadowed by Star Wars on release, Sorcerer was swallowed by history. But watch it today, and it is a revelation, a reminder that tension, when done right, does not age. It festers. It sticks with you, and it does not let go. A crime thriller that feels timeless. Some movies grab you from the first frame and never let go. Thief does not ask for your attention. It demands it, pulling you into a neon-lit underworld where every second feels like it could be your last. Michael Mann's electric, razor-sharp directorial debut is the blueprint for modern crime cinema, moody, methodical, and pulsating with a sense of existential doom. James Caan delivers one of his most intense, stripped-down performances as Frank, a professional safecracker who has built his life on control, on getting in, getting out, and never looking back. But when he takes one last job, the walls begin to close in, and every carefully laid plan starts crumbling beneath the weight of inevitability. The sweaty tension of the film is undeniable, magnified by the hypnotic, synth-driven score from Tangerine Dream, which turns the Chicago streets into a glowing, rain-soaked dreamscape. Every frame drips with cold precision, every moment laced with the threat of sudden, brutal violence. This is crime cinema at its purest, where the heists are tactical, the stakes are bone-deep, and the price of freedom might be too high to pay. Before Heat, before Drive, there was Thief, and it still burns every bit as bright today. Great movies do not disappear, they wait to be rediscovered. These films may have slipped under the radar, but they are every bit as gripping, powerful, and unforgettable as the classics everyone talks about. Whether it is a pulse-pounding thriller, a gut-wrenching drama, or a slow-burn descent into madness, each of these movies still holds up, still demands to be seen. So now it is over to you. Which of these have you seen, and which one are you adding to your watch list next? Or maybe you have your own underrated classic that deserves more love. Drop it in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going.